for, and each kid kind of took different interests, and we would follow those different interests so that what they were learning was applicable to them.
All right, and here we are. This is they're one event off from when we first started. And like Nathaniel said, we joined in 2018. Nathaniel wanted to be in the battle, and he's pretty much been able to be in the battle ever since then. We do homeschool, but we use more of a traditional style with history textbooks from a biblical perspective. Our family does love history, and we love bringing history alive to guests and sharing biblical perspective. And even though each of our families may learn history different, we love history, and each of our kids represents that, I think, in a different way for each of them.
So we'll back up a little bit and touch on a little bit of history of how Living History Day started, and Glenn already shared just a little bit about that. But Pete and Roxy Olson were the inspiration and foundation for Living History Days. Pete grew up on the East Coast. In Fauquier County. I think like Williamsburg was in his backyard, and that was his playground. And he would be there any moment that he could, playing in the 18th century. And it has always been his love for teaching. And when his family was in Nebraska and they were homeschooling their kids, the other homeschoolers in the community said, we need history taught in a hands-on fashion for our kids so that it could be inspirational and fun for them to learn. So he started with just he and Roxy doing a little, he called it, I think, a history field trip on their farm. So the kids would come and they got to rake the hay and load it into the wagon and take the wagon out to feed it to the cows. And at the end of the day, they shot muskets, and I think Roxy cooked a meal over a fire for those to participate in. The gunsmith, Dick Ashford, and the Olsons were the ones that had that event right there at the beginning. He also, the families in Nebraska, wanted to visit Williamsburg. But when you visit Williamsburg, sometimes you get the revisionist history from the people that are running it there. So he would take groups of homeschoolers out to visit the historical sites in Jamestown, Yorktown, and Williamsburg, and share it from a Christian perspective. And then he would start recording these visits, and I think there's some in our store that you could buy. And we've listened to probably all of them of his explaining of the founding of our nation. Then the Lord brought the Olsons to Colorado, where he started Good Shepherd Bible Church. And I believe that was in the fall of 2005. I got the information, I think.
April of 2005.
Was it? Okay.
When they moved in.
Melissa Patterson had given me some of the background, since she was a part from early on as well. And that first event here in Colorado was just his family at Good Shepherd Church. And the next, I don't know, they started maybe in the spring, and then in the fall, he's asked the church, who wants to join in and help us present the history presentations? And families joined in, and I think that's about when maybe we started coming, like in 2006 or 2007. In about 2018, Pete and Roxy were being led to move out of Colorado to Oklahoma and to have the farming life again for their later season of life. And Living History Days had really grown, and they needed to pass the baton on to somebody. The Bettises and the Youngs maybe had been participating just for a couple of years at that time, and they were willing to take it up. So what Pete had done by himself. Now Jeremy and Todd took on Living History Days. And it was a separation, and Pastor Olson called it vision heirs because we are heirs of the vision of our early founding fathers. But when we separated, Pastor Olson was still going to keep vision heirs because he's probably doing some small scale things still in Oklahoma. And Living History Days had become known as the event Living History Days. So we made that a 501c3 and continued on the event, purchasing from the Olsons all the equipment and things and the tents and the cannon and what was necessary for us to have it going. It took from 2018 to after COVID. I think we were almost paid off right at COVID when we didn't have the one event, and the next event we were able to finish that payment and now be debt-free. In 2019, Pete and Roxy moved to Oklahoma, but even though they were states away, they still continued to come and assist us in the spring and the fall events, being the cheerful helpers and wisdom that we needed. They continued to come and add their expertise and knowledge. And as the years went on, we realized the workload for both Todd and Jeremy was growing, and they had a lot to shoulder, and it was decided to move from just having 2 board members to 5 board members. And so Glenn Ogg stepped forward, and David Crandall stepped forward, and there was nobody for the 5th person. And so finally I thought, well, we're pretty much here at everything anyways. So I decided that I would go ahead and be their 5th person on the board.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So the Batis family, I think I've been pointed that out, was the Young family.
Addison is part of the Young family, and she's the only child still at
She's
home.
the youngest young.
She is the youngest young.
As well? My dad is doing it in the fall. My mom is
What
She did.
stations are they generally at?
registration. And
Registration?
then my dad doesn't usually do his station just because
He has to.
oversee
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So
There'll
your
be a
mom has
picture in a minute so
registration.
you can see who Todd is for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, yes.
So she has 2 older sisters and an older brother. Her older sister is married and has almost 2-year-old,
Okay,
and older brother is married and no longer participating, and another older sister who just got married a year and a half ago.
3.
Olivia.
That was 2020.
Olivia's already been married 4 years.
It was in 2020.
Oh wow, that went by fast. But anyways, they have a baby as well, and they usually show up too. I think Mackenzie may be at the registration table.
Okay.
She's busy with a little guy, but she likes to come, and she is an expert on clothing. So anything clothing wise, fabric wise, stitch wise, she is very, very knowledgeable on all of that.
thank you.
So here's Pastor Pete, and this event might be the first event that he's missed. I don't know if he's missed any others, but he and his wife are not able to come this fall, but they're planning to come again at some point too. And here is Gunsmith Ashford. Dick and his wife Allison and their son Isaac usually come, but they live in Nebraska, so they're not at our monthly meetings. So when we show up to the event, you'll all see this person wandering around and wonder, who is that? So that is Dick Ashford. And here are the board members for faces. Mr. Bettis, Mr. Young. Mr. Young had a broken neck at our last event, very serious, and God was good, and he was able to get into like the best surgeon in Denver, but it's a slow process for healing for his neck. David Crandall is usually on the music station along with his wife and lots of littles. That's not his wife, that's just another volunteer. Glenn Ogg is always at the forge and doing the swords and branding the candle holders that the kids make. And here I am. I much prefer being in the kitchen and not up front here like talking, but I will do it when I need to. Psalm 105:1. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the peoples. Sing to him, sing praises to him, speak of all his wonders. And that is what makes Living History Day different than any other historical event that you'll visit across the U.S., is that all the volunteers are wanting to make known God's handiwork and his design and his fingerprints that were on our nation. And so that's that. I will see, oh, we
I
didn't
did get
I
a
did.
hotspot. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
When, I will do the next one. When a people turn their eyes to God and are following in his ways, amazing things happen. And the video that I was thinking to show was neat to see how Christianity spread around the globe. We don't, you want to watch it?
I think that's my laptop.
It
But
is,
you can see right after the founding of our nation how Christianity was kind of at a slow level, and then it really took a dive back to the
Are we able
slide.
to exit out just so we can see the wireless?
I wouldn't know how, but yeah.